Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you find yourself in this weird, wild, wacky world of ours, and welcome to another exciting installment of Darkness in Dublin. Sleep is wonderful. It's that art of essentially lulling yourself into a state of utter unconsciousness, oblivion that awaits us just beyond closing our eyes. And frankly, some days you need some oblivion in your life. Well, Jinx is having one of those days, as literally Dublin appears to be going once again, ever lovingly, to shit. It has been a long ass day. The mixture of hearing about the fact that someone who, had always been cool to her in the city has up and left, and the fact that everyone appears to be screaming and running around like headless chickens. Well, you know what you need after all that? Well, it's either to pound a Red Bull or you need some good quality sleep. So, Jinx, it's about 1:20 in the evening by the time you finally manage to get home and kind of throw down your bag and your laptop case and like sleep is good.
uh, like most geeks that Jinx prescribes to, she gets a warm glass of milk, curls into her bed, cracks open a book, and tries to essentially allow her brain to wind down and turn off, as it were.
Okay. As you finish reading what I will lovingly refer to as you finish chapter 3 of Totally Not 50 Shades of Grey, 50 Shades of Grey. Um,
It's fair.
well, no, let's be fair. Jinx is more of a nerd. You finish reading chapter 3 of really shitty smut fiction, so my OC and your OC, etc. But no, you finally put the book down and you just lay there with your eyes closed. However, on the corner of your vision, the corner of the corner of the opaque blackness, something's not right. When you close your eyes, you actively see light, except it appears to be green. And as you attempt to flick your eyes to look, because you can see, despite the fact your eyes are closed, into the corners of your vision, you start to see code, ones and zeros, running in incrementic ciphers up and down the periphery of your vision.
Jinx will let out a long sigh and sort of that very asinine way of doing something where you sort of just pull the covers over your head. I'm not dealing with this right now. I'm tired.
Okay? As you pull the covers over your head, you become innately aware of the fact the covers themselves are in fact literally made of data. You begin to see the programming sequence that goes into every fiber, every single little piece of stuffing in the blanket, until it becomes nearly blindingly bright.
Ow. She finally says, all right, I'm up. And she'll get up and that essentially look around perplexed and confused.
As you do so, once again, your dressing table, your wardrobe, even the carpet under your feet, you're not seeing them as they are. You're seeing the data that makes up every item, as if you were hacking the world around you simply by being there, as if your very existence was some kind of rhythmic code that was unlocking the potentiality of the reality index itself. For example, you now know the code for those pairs of for that pair of curtains. You know the code for the window pane. You know the code for the radiator. It's all kind of blindingly bright in your mind, like it's burning its way into your cortex.
In that mock fashion, she will kind of used to actually seeing kind of hold her head and try to in that very simplistic way of kind of tapping your head a little bit to see maybe she's just half asleep, half awake. That happens. Too much caffeine is not a good thing. You start to hallucinate. Maybe she's hallucinating. Tap, tap, tap. Okay. She'll like actively try to wake herself up if she can, pinching herself.
As you do that, you become aware that even your hands are a sequence of ones and zeros.
And she just says out in a very unamused fashion, not funny.
A voice seems to say from all around you, the truth very seldom is.
Who said that? Where am I?
Well, you're exactly where you think you are. The better question is who or what do you think you are?
Irritated because I'm not asleep right now.
I'm sure that that is indeed the case, Miss Cassandra. However, unfortunately, reality sucks.
It's the fact that she called her Cassandra. She hasn't heard that name in years. She is fully awake now.
Would you prefer Cassie? I can do Cassie if you'd like.
Now it's mild. Jinx is not the one to show actual fear of something. Now she's it's audible panic now. She's starting to panic. Now who are you? I don't know anything.
I've got a question. It's a simple one.
Mm.
Think about it like this. You ask who I am. The answer is, I am the base code. I'm your base code, as a matter of fact. Well, rather, I'm the base code of the entity in which has invested itself within you. The way you are able to perform your feats and do your tricks is all because you have an understanding of the code. I am the code.
I see.
Yes. It will. You kind of get the distinct impression that once again you're seeing the universe in the manner that you would see it as a coder, as if the world was a video game,
Mm-hmm.
and it will say, so I contemplate, I wonder, what is the next step? What is the next realization?
To figure it out, obviously.
Obviously, but that's never as easy as people think it is. Knowledge is actually pretty easy to obtain. You read a book, bang. It's not exactly hard. You know what is hard? What's really hard? Wisdom. Wisdom is difficult.
I see.
So, you and I are going to perform an exercise.
Cracks her knuckles. Okay.
We don't need that there. He will say, as you see the wall, the code that makes up the wall simply dissolve or be deleted.
Okay.
You kind of become aware that essentially in the cosmic universe, the mouse cursor is hovering right in front of you, ready to click on you.
Mm-hmm.
Shall we go?
After you.
Wonderful. At which point you feel as though you're being dragged sideways very, very quickly, like whoop. You are now standing in a large room that has a huge monitor in front of it, and running into and out of the monitor, there are a dozen sequences of these rhythmic ones and zeros. Your challenge is simple, the voice will say. It appears to be speaking from the computer itself, though there's no anthropomorphic face or anything like that on the monitor to denote it's talking.
Mm-hmm.
But it will say, so, your task is simple. Relatively so, anyway. Your task is understanding. I want you to come to a larger understanding of the entities and the fundaments. So, let us begin. How to phrase, how to contemplate. What is, it will say, yes, yes. Write me what you would perceive the code for life is. The life code, essentially.
She'll scratch her head, knowing full well she's really confused by that one.
Would you like me to give you an example?
Go ahead.
The underwriting principle, that code which governs the simple existence or non-existence of life. The code that essentially creates life from the nothing.
She will very haphazardly try to type out a code, a very simplistic one, for one she got as like straight up biology. She knows school, so what she thinks it should be.
All right. What you think about as you're doing this is, okay, so I've really got no idea what the fuck it's asking me to do. Maybe I should just design a construct like as if I was coding a video game. Maybe I should just code maybe I should just code a virtual kind of a virtual representation of a person into existence. That seems
Right.
entirely reasonable, right?
Correct.
Okay. Roll me your intelligence computers. Difficulty 7, requiring 3 successes as a threshold, which you may modify with all the hilarious, swanky modifiers I have no doubt you have.
All right. Let's go to Dublin. That's it. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, you more than succeed. On your screen, as your hands whip over the keyboard with near blinding speed, you are able to digitally assemble a person. It's just a simple representation, maybe something you'd see in The Sims, for example. Before the computer will say, excellent, wonderful, we have our simulation. Now then, why don't you design, our friend here, a house to live in? That seems reasonable, no? A person would need a house.
She knows she's quite familiar with how things work, compositions. She understands the matter code,
Hmm.
so she will go off that principle. Something that is reasonable and sound, sturdy, basic. Actually, Jinx is anything but basic. She's going to try to show off now. She's going to try to put more creativity in it since she firmly understands this.
All right, it'll be difficulty 7 again, requiring a threshold of 3 successes. Roll them booms.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 successes.
Excellent. You've made him a home. At this point, your incredibly detailed coding will come into effect. You've made him not just a home, but you've made him a lovely home. You've made him like the equivalent of a brownstone, 3-story walk up. It's fan-freaking-tastic. And he will say, however, man is often lonely. Why don't you make him a companion? A dog, perhaps. A dog is always good, would you not agree?
I'm more of a cat lady.
A cat is also fine. Why not make him a cat?
All right, she'll try to code out a cat.
Okay. The exact same roll.
Oh, two successes.
The computer flashes up with an error message.
Fuck.
Oh,
She
come now.
curses loudly.
Come now, Miss Jinx. You can try again. I'll give you one do-over, but only one.
Irritated. She doesn't like failure. So can I spend a point of willpower?
Yes.
One, two, three, four, five, six.
Okay. You create a cat. It is utterly spectacularly rendered. There's long, floofing hair. The cat itself looks to be some kind of Pekingese, perhaps, some kind of exotic cat that has the kind of the wonderment of the Orient about it, perhaps. At which point, the entity will seem you'll get a thumbs up emoji on the screen, and it will say, "Very good, very good. Now then, perhaps the next step. Why not a family? He seems like he should have a family, don't you think?"
Yes.
Fine. Prepare. Make him a family. Exact same rules apply. Remember, don't fail.
One, two, three. In this game, do tens knock off a success? Like, if I do have a specialty, but do you count the tens first?
The one will only knock off one success from the 10.
Okay. That's one, two.
By the way, where are you rolling? Because I can't see your rolls.
In general, am I not supposed to roll there?
Yeah, no, you should roll in rolls if that's okay.
Oh, whoopsie.
No
So which
worries.
one? Oh, so that's 5 right now.
Awesome. Make him a family. What kind of family do you make him, Jinx?
A very. She's that type of fangirl, Fudoshi. So she makes him another male companion, 3 children, and a very organic family, as she knows and understands it.
How lovely. You certainly have excellent taste, Miss Jinx. Let us use the base algorithm. Please press enter.
Boop. She pressed enter.
Jinx, you will see a rendering of this. You'll see this program that you've written proceed to kind of digitize on the screen in another concentric spiral and pattern of ones and zeros. And until you are now looking at this, you're now looking at this man that you created. Only he's not a pixelated form anymore. He is a living, breathing human being. You see the house that you built for him, but it's not made of code anymore. It's made of bricks and mortar. You see the cat you made for him, and sitting there in the corner purring. And you see his husband, and you see their children playing and watching television. At which point he'll say, "Now then, what would you do if I told you that that you have rewritten the very code, the base code of the universe, and these people are now real? You've created them from nothing."
Jinx will give sort of a shocked expression. Not denying it, but just a rather shocked expression.
This is the potentiality when it comes to understanding the base code. And I assume it is that you, Miss Jinx, would like a greater understanding of the known world, the universe, the code.
Yes. One moment, Evan. Be right back.
Take time.
Sorry about that. I'm back.
No worries.
Evan.
So, yes, so he will say, what would you do if I said that we had rewritten the code? That they are now real?
Why?
Why not? Those to control what they perceive as reality. After all, what is the limits? They are only limited by knowledge.
So are you saying that if I think it, then therefore it's real?
If you are able to understand how it is you wish to rewrite the base, then yes.
Is it really that simple?
Is anything that simple?
Of course
After
not.
all, when there are thousands of ones and zeros, if you get even one wrong, well, needless to say, the code will fail, the program will fail, you will fail.
So let's test it.
In what way?
How does it function?
Hmm. Uh, hmm.
Seeing is
We
believing.
we have already given you the power of life, as is evidenced by the simulacra on screen. I have a question, Miss Jenks. Would you care to press the delete button?
She looks at the delete button and she hesitates.
After all, if understanding one element of the code is important, is understanding all of the code not also important?
Of course, but if they are real, then every hacker's responsible for the things we put into the world.
Arguably. However, ultimately you are more responsible for those things you remove from various different servers, various different intelligence banks. I would argue that as it pertains to any semblance of morality, hackers are more responsible for what it is they choose to remove than what it is they choose to add. However, we have already shown you that the capability exists to create life. Are you not interested to see if the capability also exists to end it?
Of course. But would it harm them?
It would end them. It would have been as if they never were.
She will delete the flowers outside of the house.
The flowers will disappear. Interesting. So as opposed to making this entity that you created disappear, you merely chose to make the posies vanish. Interesting choice.
I still operate on a conscience.
And what would you do if I was to say that the only way I will give you what it is you desire, in terms of your furtherance of your knowledge, was if you take what you had built and cast it down, press the delete button, erase it all. Then, is knowledge worth the price of a conscience?
But that's, and almost in a whisper, she said that's how win rate died.
Indeed. But I'm asking you, do you want knowledge? Or do you want to maintain your conscience? What would you do if I said that both were mutually exclusive? You could have one, but not the other.
I would say that there would have to be some type of realization that it's infinitely easier to delete something than it is to create it.
So, you would defy. You would say no. Your conscience and morality is more valuable than knowledge. Am I correct?
But to truly understand something, she ponders. That's an incomplete understanding.
Correct. Which is why I asked if you would want a complete understanding of both sides of the code.
I'll work out my salvation. I'll work out my salvation with fear and trembling. She pushes the delete key.
Nothing happens. I see. Interesting. Why were you so willing to sacrifice them?
It reminds me of when I was doing confession with the Archbishop, and we got into a philosophical debate about life and what death was. And I posed him a question. I said, what's the point of death? It just causes suffering. And what's the point of pain? Because pain is just there. That's just what it is. It just causes an inconvenience. And I think I understand it now that in order to truly appreciate something, certain things have to go, I think.
This is a good realization. You are no longer weakened by your... Yes. I understand you now. Yes. Yeah. Very well then. Your eyes will start to burn as you feel ones and zeros etched into your eyes, into your eye sockets, into your very mind itself, burning themselves onto your brain until you will sit bolt upright in your own bed, covered in a sheen of sweat, covered in a sheen of cold, cold, icy sweat. You look to the ceiling and you're almost glad the fact that everything has returned to normal until you hear in the back of your mind, remember the code, Miss Jinx. Remember the code. In that same very calm, very even voice. Congratulations! You have successfully completed your Arete 3 seeking. Yeah.
Yay! Anthony's in shock. If everyone's just listening, wow. Okay.
I'm going to boot the button.
Okay.
Thank you, players, playing. Thank you, watchers, for watching. This has been another scene in Darkness in Dublin.